All right, y'all. So we're back in Honduras, and I'm just gonna do a couple videos and then probably splice them all together, just kind of show what we're doing. Instead of doing a whole big tour like I usually do, I'll just talk about what we're doing day by day. The guys are taking down a lot of the tall grasses that come up pretty quickly out here. As you can see, it can get pretty weedy pretty fast, but it's nothing too major. There's enough shade and there's enough biomass on the ground to kind of help compete some of those weeds. But what we did last time was plant avocado seeds because it was the tail end of avocado season, and now they're all starting to sprout. And what we're doing is just reinforcing them for the dry season coming up. Pretty much the same, follows the same deal as Florida. All summer into the fall is kind of like the rainy season, and then winter time, spring is like can get well, especially spring, April, May. Oof, those can get really hot and dry and super drought-like conditions. So we're prepping these little baby avocados for the. Here's another one. I really like the avocados because they come out with a red little tinge to them, so they're kind of easy to spot. But yeah, you can see this is the area that is pretty weedy, pretty rocky. A lot of hard to handle weeds, but yeah, we're here's a good example of what the plan is. As long as you keep something like that around every couple months, the weeds, they stay at bay, which is nice. So here we go. We have beautiful avocado coming up. I think I buried another avocado in here. It's okay though. But yeah, you can see them. The plan is to have as many avocados as possible on this landscape. This is probably the best one to come up. Look how beautiful that is. Just enough biomass in the beginning to get them going, but here in the tropics, biomass degrades pretty quickly, decomposes very quickly. So the more you add, the better. So that's kind of what we got going on. And check back in a little bit. Here's another area we put avocados in. Looks like only 2 came up. Here's 1, and here's 2. And you can see the shady conditions really helps with the weed control. Definitely having planting in the shady conditions gives you that little bit of breathing space, buys you some time before you have to take care of these again. I usually have like a little rule of thumb. If a tree is below my hip, then I have more priority of applying biomass there and blocking out the weeds and giving it fertility. As soon as the tree's past my hip, it's pretty much, for the most part, rooted in. It's going to be able to handle more drought stress. It's going to be able to handle, whatever comes its way. But when it's still tiny like this, definitely you can just start to see some of the weeds starting to come in. The big banana biomass barrier helped at the very beginning, but here in the tropics, you always want to keep adding. So that's another area that we worked on. And yeah, I'll go to one more area. All right, here's another area. You can see we had originally put down a ton of Cecropia biomass and some of these trees, and that stuff decomposes very quickly. So we needed to reinforce with some banana biomass up here. So you can see some more little babies, super beautiful red sprouting avocados. There's not really much of anything fruiting right now that I can plant, and we're gonna get into the dry season. So this round is more just about keeping everything maintained and bringing down some biomass to help with the dry season coming up. Keep that moisture going and keep these avocados nice and happy so that they can get to the level where they'll beat the weeds. So you can see just how you can see the line sort of as soon as we hit the area where we didn't put down biomass, it starts to get pretty weedy. Things get lost in the sauce when it's weedy like this. So it's very important to bulk up the material. All right, here's an update for our little avocado section that we have going on over here. You can see I've reinforced the beds a lot with a lot more biomass. Here we have some pretty good bedbidia biomass, the Coccolosporium vidifolium, and we're just reinforcing these avocados. It's less about the specific avocado plant and more about establishing this area as a fertile planting area. The avocados just help obviously if the avocados make it, then that's great, but even if they don't, they at least serve as like a motivational factor. I see these avocados filled with life, and it makes it a little easier to what's the word I'm looking for, to justify the work putting in. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult just putting biomass just for biomass sake. When you have something that gives you motivation, it's a little easier. So at the end of the day, I would like for this to be avocados, but nature does its thing, and these avocados may not make it. So we're stopping that water at the very least from just sliding down this hillside, and we're catching that water. So it's going to rain a few more times before the rainy season. The dry season. So we're going to be able to capture some of that moisture, and we're probably going to put some of that grass that we cut over there on top to sort of put these to finalize these beds. But yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing. And another thing I wanted to say was my shoulder's kind of hurting a little bit on this trip, so I'm kind of not trying to go super hard. And one thing I've been noticing that helps is every now and then to just stop with the heavier duty work and clean up a lot of these guavas. What happens is that a lot of them sprout in the same place, and it kind of becomes like this thicket that it's easy for vines to kind of go up, and it's just it's kind of a headache having all the guavas like that. And so whenever my shoulder is starting to hurt a little bit, I kind of take a break and clean these guavas up, thin them out, and point them vertical, take off all the side branches so that it's less of a crazy thicket and more of a structured. At the end of the day, honestly, this one could just be kept and all those could be gone, but you can do that over time. But yeah, it just helps with extremely weedy areas like this where vines are common. Just kind of helps you stay that one step ahead of the vines so they're not climbing up those guavas and then climbing up trees. So yeah, same thing here. It's also nice too because it gives the birds a perching area where they can hunt. It's a clear perch. I've seen birds kind of take advantage of a pruned up style like that. I like seeing them hunt. And then here is the bedbidia I just cut, and it provided tons of biomass. Of course, the 250 super clutch. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm excited to see. Oh, that's cool. There's so many cool animals here. Yeah, excited to see the land, this weedy area respond to this all this biomass. So that's that. Another thing I wanted to mention was the ecological succession importance of cutting this bedbidia. There's a cablote right here, the Guazuma umifolia, and it's another thing that I cleaned up. It's very important to clean up these cablotes, these guazumas, because they have a tendency to sprout a lot. So the more you clean them up, the better. But you can see, if you can imagine, this tree was kind of in the way of that cablote, and I prefer to keep that wood in the long run because it's a much more, I've said this countless times in other Honduras videos, but it's much more useful wood compared to this very watery, spongy wood. It serves more as a biomass tree. So that is another reason why, of course, the biomass to help with that area, but also freeing up light so that this umifolia can express itself to its fullest potential. And as well as these guavas, I want these guavas to be the long-term trees, and I want these faster early succession species to exit the system as quickly as possible. So the next tree to be cut down are these Cecropias at some point here, because you can see they're definitely, it's getting to the point where I need that umifolia to have all the light. So this one's got to go. These can stay because they're a little bit farther, but this one's got to go. But I do the Cecropias last because of the ants. So yeah, just that little tidbit I wanted to add. Another thing I'm doing is thinning out this massive tree here. As you can tell by the size, it's a very old tree. This is that mystery tree. I'm thinking it's a type of spondius. They call it hobo here. Yeah, this is an old tree. It's infested with this type of ant. I'm not sure what it is, but they create these little tunnels. Well, actually, I'm not sure if those might just be termites, but yeah, there's another type of ant on there too that are pretty fierce as well. So there might be a combination of different types of ants taking over this tree. This is obviously a early succession tree, fairly short-lived, so you can see it's kind of on its way out, and it must have been cut many years ago, and all the sprouts came up and it was a jumbled mess. You can see I had to do a little cutting because I didn't want this to get snagged anywhere. So it wasn't the easiest chainsaw job, but just had to do a little cleanup before I actually used the chainsaw. But what that does is it helps bring in just a little bit of sunlight. You know, ideally, this whole thing would get managed so that it can come back up, and then I can select those coppice shoots so that it's not so unruly like that. But a little bit at a time. For now, I just wanted just enough sunlight to open up so that I have a ice cream bean and Inga variety there that I want to get a little bit more sunlight. And then there's the guapinola, the jatoba, stinking toe fruit as well that I wanted to just free up the tiniest bit of sunlight in. And yeah, all that biomass. Here you can see the beautiful leaves here. Here we go. Not sure exactly what tree it is, but there you go. All that biomass I'm going to place down there where we opened up another area and had put some avocado seeds, and you can see the grass is starting to dominate there since it's sunny. So I'll clean this up and get back to you. All right, we're all cleaned up here for the most part. And yep, got some sunlight in now, and just wanted to show the wood. This tree is kind of in the same category as the bedvidea, the Coccolospermum vidifolium. It's very light. You can see it's just a very watery wood. Locals don't even bother using this wood for firewood. It's just another one of those weed trees, so to speak, for the people out here. But obviously for agroforestry purposes, this is a perfect tree for chop and drop and storing water in the soil during the dry season. So it's kind of nice to take advantage, especially now with the chainsaw this time of year, as we're just about to head into the dry season. You know, sometimes bananas can be a little bit of a pain in the butt to manage, and this is kind of like a decent way to get best of both worlds. You get some lignin, some of that wood, as well as some of the water that these early succession species kind of have stored inside of them. So yeah, I'm really loving managing these watery trees. Really easy to cut with the chainsaw as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and organize the material down there, and we'll see how those little baby avocados like the application of this biomass. All right, so the bigger stuff is laid down and organized. And got some on either side. I really don't know what's better, if you should put the one on like this thicker stuff on the uphill side, so that when rain comes down it kind of trickles through and kind of helps the erosion control, or it kind of makes more sense to put it on the downhill side so that the rain could come and it kind of stops. This is the wall, so to speak, and then all the sediment could be trapped there. But sometimes I just go with what's easiest, and then I kind of regret it sometimes. But at the end of the day, just as long as if you can get the whole bed, then even better. But I'm thinking I should have done it the other way around. But like I said, sometimes I just go with what's easiest. There's always more biomass to choose from if I do end up wanting to put more on this edge. But yeah, so this is the big stuff, and then I'm gonna put the foliage on top and see kind of how much that yields in terms of biomass. All right, we're pretty much done organizing the biomass. You can see our little avocado babies are super protected right there as well. And I have both sides flanked pretty good. It's kind of hard to tell in this video, but yeah, enough biomass of the foliage to cover the thick logs, so I'm happy with that. And I put a little extra of the foliage on this side to compensate for the fact that I didn't put as much logs on this downhill side. But yeah, it may seem like a lot of material just for some measly avocado seedlings, 3 of them. But like I repeat all the time, it's not so much about the plants themselves and more about really getting this area to be super, super fertile for whatever I end up having here in the future. Like I said, dry season here can be pretty intense. So this amount of work could make the difference of these avocados surviving or not. Because the dry season is just, you just never know. It could be super, 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 super dry, a super long dry season. And when you don't have irrigation, you kind of have to double it up in terms of biomass, because that is your irrigation. We still have this hanging here, suspended. This is not ideal. This is the furthest from ideal, actually. So I have to take that down before it gets too dry. The ants will start taking care of that for me if I don't take care of it. And yeah, don't want to mess with ants. And yeah, that's it. Now, like I said, these trees can get a little bit extra sunlight, and those baby avocados could get some biomass for the dry season.